Hello and welcome to the Dinosaw for week 46, another 7 curious interesting things I saw last week, so let's crack on. The first one is Netflix hiding the dislike count. So that's the thumbs up versus thumbs down. You now can only see the thumbs up count. If you are the YouTube owner of the channel, then you can still see it in your dashboard. It's just not publicly visible. So this is for two reasons. One is to protect the mental health of the YouTube creator, and secondly is to stop targeted attacks on certain videos on channels. So you could get an external community or any community who are told to go and dislike a video. That then affects the algorithm, which probably then affects whether the video is shown or also the revenue that the creator might get from it. So they're trying to stop that as well. Now clearly it's useful to know whether a video is good or not. So a broad metric is how many dislikes to likes ratio it has. So it is actually quite useful. Does the video answer the question that you're hoping to get? If you're trying to figure out whether it fixes your dishwasher, too many dislikes, you'll probably look up the next video. Not everybody agrees this is a good idea. So you got people like Marquez Brownlee, who has 15 million followers or subscribers on YouTube, has a great video, so I've linked that at the bottom, basically just calling out some of the unexpected consequences. It'll probably drive the negativity into the comments, which actually has a more negative effect on the mental health of creators, for instance. Not everybody agrees on this, but it's certainly something to watch. If you can still see the dislike count in your territory, then it will probably disappear within the next couple of weeks. There you go. So this is some really interesting news from researchers at Northwestern University. So they have cured a mouse with a severed spine and they've got its legs to work again. So what they've done is clearly they've got a mouse and they've severed its spine, which is, depending on where you think about that, is either not good, but obviously for the greater good. So what they've done is they've injected these nanotubes, and the nanotubes have these jiggling, dancing molecules on them. So the science behind this, as far as I can figure out, and I won't go too deep into it, but when you sever a nerve like that, there are a whole bunch of nerves, and you can't quite find the right ones to reconnect, and therefore it doesn't. What this does is these molecules that can connect the nerves together, because they're wiggling around, they have more chance of essentially haphazardly bumbling into the right nerve and the other nerve, and therefore they can start connecting the pathways. So I'm not quite sure what the funny dangly things are, but either way, I think those are supposed to be the seven nerves, but as you can see, they're connecting with these funny wiggly brushes. Point being, a single injection cured a mouse of a spinal injury within 4 weeks. So imagine that being applied to us. So it turns out less than 3% of people with a spinal column injury actually regain any sort of function whatsoever. So this is an amazing thing. Talking about amazing conversation, this was a sort of discussion on the forum about the future of photography, which I thought worth mentioning. And our computer game is getting so good that it might actually put photographers out of a job. So these are two images from the Porsche Instagram feed. The one on the left is actually from Forza 5, and the one on the right is actually a professional photographer's shot of a car. Clearly the one on the right has taken the car to be shipped there. It's got to look absolutely amazing. It's got to be prepped. It's got to be driven well. It's got to have lighting, camera, action, the whole thing. Probably going to cost you a heck of a lot of money. The one on the left-hand side is actually created within Forza 5. Essentially, you've just chosen a car, you've driven it onto a beach, you've moved the camera around with the virtual camera, and you've set the lighting and taken a photo. Clearly, it still takes a bit of skill, but not so much. So because these are featured both on the Instagram of Porsche, and other car manufacturers are doing this as well, it's starting to eat away at photographers having the kind of exclusive method of getting car shots. So probably most adverts you see right now with cars in them, they're all computer generated anyway. However, this is interesting. Will press events of the future be in the metaverse? You'll be invited to a virtual Andalusian island, and it's up to you to find the right shots. Cars, you can take them wherever you want. Interesting, but it's happening. The NVIDIA keynote happened, so there was a great video link which is a 5-minute overview of it. The longer version is probably just too long, but it started out relatively sane and it just got weirder and weirder as it went on, but more interesting. So if you don't know who NVIDIA are, they are sort of, they used to make sort of video card technology, but that has as they've progressed, is you can do more and more computations on the video card itself, and therefore they've got into this whole world of how can you use their video cards and technology for doing more and more interesting computing, which is what's going on here. So some of the things they mentioned were the Maxine platform, which is how to do all of this stuff really easily. They basically provide you with a nice easy platform of APIs and all that sort of stuff. They talked about industrial routing, they talked about real-time translation of your video call. So if you're on a video call, it can real-time translate using your voice into lots of different languages. Obviously you've got real-time avatars and things like that you were seeing. But also they talked about Earth 2, which is their digital twin of Earth. They are building a ginormous, as accurate as they could possibly get, version of Earth where you can simulate traffic and weather and all sorts of things. So definitely watch the video. It does, as I say, get a little bit bonkers towards the end, but there you go. Netflix have announced Kids Clips, which is their, I sort of hesitate to say TikTok for kids because it's not really trying to be, but it kind of is. So it's a landscape format, short clip where it takes clips from the Netflix kids shows that they are sort of self-generated. So you're not allowed to watch any more than, I think, 10 or 20 in a row, so it's not quote-unquote addictive for kids. But what they're trying to do is promote their kids shows in these kind of the funniest clips and the best clips of all the shows. Now, they've launched Fast Laughs, or Fast Laughs, I guess, if you're from the South, but it's pronounced Fast Laughs. They launched that in April, which was for their comedy shows as well, so this is not a new thing. They've obviously just reversioned it for the kids. But it's interesting how they're trying to obviously win over a new younger audience and also trying to take screen time away from YouTube and also the big screen. So there you go. This is on their iOS app. They're testing it at the moment, so it isn't actually a live thing, and it isn't certainly being rolled out. I think there's it's not in every territory as well. I think sort of US and some other South American territories as well. So there you go, Netflix Kids Clips. PepsiCo CEO said he's expecting to get the delivery of the Tesla Semi this quarter. So that caught everybody out. So that's Q4 2021. In that, it was launched, I think, 2017 or 18, and Elon Musk said you'd get it by 2019. Clearly, that's not a chance. So it's 2021. Now, Elon Musk himself has said you're not going to get it until 2023, and that was recently. So nobody's quite sure what's going on. However, let's take that on face value. So this is one of 100 trucks that PepsiCo pre-ordered, and there are lots of other companies out there that have ordered a bunch of these as well. Now, I think PepsiCo have something like 36,000 trucks in their fleet, so this is only going to be a tiny dip into it, but so these trucks will obviously have no pollution and will be huge if obviously we can provide the electricity for them, and also big fleets take these over. So I think that's quite interesting. Two things that are also interesting: the cost of these things. So it's about $180,000 for one of these things, and it will do 500 miles. And the second interesting thing is this footage is actually created from or borrowed from a YouTube channel that flies over Tesla headquarters and captures this sort of stuff. So sort of quite sneaky. So in its own right, that's quite interesting. And finally, possibly there's kind of usually these are quite upbeat, but this is quite disturbing. So this is actually for a murder trial of Kyle Rittenhouse, who was caught on video and was actually caught by people in the street after a double murder and also, I think, wounding another person. So it was caught on video. And within the court, and this was actually presided by Judge Bruce Schroeder, this is the defense basically saying that the video of the shooting is inadmissible because it was pinch zoomed on an iPad. So their defense is because Apple use logarithms, I assume they mean algorithms and all that intelligent stuff. When you zoom into something, it makes up the pixels, and therefore, because Apple are doing it, they're making up what's in the video, and therefore it can't be trusted. So in the end, the judge agreed, which is just bonkers, and eventually they agreed to watch an unedited, unzoomed version on the Windows PC with a regular monitor, and they were happy about that. So it's a bit of a statement on just the knowledge, I guess, that goes on in these courthouses, and and basically how justice is carried out. But also with fake news, being able to generate it also does, it's a legitimate point, which is, can you accept video evidence? So even when they're sort of cracking down on just even zooming makes something potentially inadmissible, then what else? So how will we prove these are true in the future? However, if you didn't know about that case, or at least this judgment, which is blowing up over the last couple of days, then go and have a look at it, because it's baffling. But there you go. Anyway, hopefully that was useful. Hopefully it was enjoyable. Hopefully it was informative. And I will see you again next week.